All right, now we're on to line 20 and 21, and there are some new concepts that we need to be aware of to play these lines, as we can see from the yellow box that's at the very top of page 7. So we're going to learn right now about whole notes and whole rest, which we kind of learned about before. Let's go to the book. So as you can see here in the yellow box at the top of the page, we have a new kind of note called a whole note and a new kind of rest called a whole rest. We learned notes at the very, very beginning of the book that looked sort of like a circle, and they put a letter in the middle of it with like an F, with a big arrow pointing to the right. Well, an actual whole note is really this circle shape, sort of an egg shape. This arrow is not part of the note. They just drew it there to tell you that that note lasts a long time. That note lasts all the way through beats 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 4 beats total. A whole rest lasts the same amount of time, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, of silence. And you'll notice here that it looks an awful lot like a half rest. It's just a block that's touching one of the lines. Here's the difference. A whole rest hangs from a staff line, and a half rest sits on top of a staff line. Really, you can also figure it out by context. Here in line 20, I know that this has to be a whole rest because it's all by itself in a measure, so it must take up the whole measure. Whereas if I look up here in Gotel and Rodi, I can see that this rest only takes up part of a measure, so it can't be a whole rest. It must then be a half rest, but I can still see this sits on top of a line, so it must be a half rest, and this one hangs beneath a line, so it must be a whole rest. So let's first take a look at line 20. You'll notice 20 and 21 are basically the same thing, and they're both just designed to teach us how to play whole notes. They've written in all of the counting, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, all the way through the line. And the way they write this in is so that it lines up. I can see that this note happens on beat 1, and it lasts 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. These notes each happen on the beat, on the number, 1 and. 2 and. Here's another note that happens on the beat, lasts for 4 beats. Then we have 4 beats of silence. We have a half note that happens on beat 1 and it lasts for 1 and 2 and. Then we have quarter notes that happen on beat 3 and 4. And then we have another whole rest that happens on beat 1 and lasts for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then there's a repeat. Now the directions here for us to count it and clap it together. So let's count and clap together. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4, 1. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4, 1. Stop. Now, as you can see, I held onto the notes when I was clapping them. When we're playing that note in our instrument, doo, the note's going to last through all 4 beats, unless you play a percussion instrument. When you see whole notes in percussion, there'll be times when they want you to do what's called a roll. This is not one of those times, and I'm not going to teach you how to do a roll today. But when you see a whole note in percussion, you just make the sound at the beginning, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then have to wait for those 4 beats to go by. It can be frustrating. We do have to make sure, though, that when we do play those on the bells or on the drums, we don't hold them the way I held the clapping. You have to strike the instrument and then let the sticks rebound off so the instrument can ring during that time. Now take a look at line 21. It's the exact same rhythm with the exact same counting, and it uses just 4 of our first 5 notes. I'll give you a moment to name those notes on your own using the letter names. Now, if you play a trumpet or a clarinet, the letter names you should have come up with were F, E, 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 D, then there's the rest, then C, E, E, F. If you play a flute or a trombone or a tuba or you play percussion, the notes you have are E flat, D, 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 C, B flat, D, D, E flat. I'm going to play it for you now. Listen carefully and then rewind it and play along. Here I go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, play. Now, you won't see whole notes very often in the songs that you play. They happen most often in background parts when someone is playing background parts, chords. When someone's playing chords like that that go along with the melody that everyone else is playing that are made up of quarter notes and half notes. But we do often see whole notes at the ends of songs. It's pretty common to end songs on a long note that happens on a strong beat. So a whole note is the longest note we can get right now, and 1 is the strongest beat that there is. So you'll see a lot of tunes that are going to end on whole notes. If we scroll down here, we can see line 22 ends on a whole note, and line 25 also ends on a whole note, long notes that are on beat 1.